Hello, Andrew Plank. How are
Hello,
you?
Jane Johnston, and hello, everyone. Welcome to the Victoria Real Estate Show.
Yeah, I'm Jane Johnston with the Bar Hill Group at Remax Camosun, and
I'm Andrew Plank with Royal LePage. And I just want everyone to know, if you were listening to the intro music, that you couldn't see us, but Jane and I were both bopping out to it.
So, good morning, everybody. It is February 6th, and we're here with the Victoria Real Estate Show. Andrew Plank and I host every Monday morning, so welcome. We're going to be doing a monthly market update, and then we're just going to talk about the first-time home buyers and also the BC Real Estate Association projections for this coming year.
Let's do that.
Let's do it.
Jump in.
On. All righty.
So we're going to do this last week's stats, but we also have the full month stats, don't we?
I have just full month because I thought let's compare month to month.
Okay. So Jane's got up here, what actually, okay, go ahead. Oh, I see what you're doing. I think I see what you're doing. This is different. Okay.
I like to be different. Okay. Yeah. January 9th, we had 53 new listings compared to the first week of February. We've had 6.
I mean, 9 days instead of 6 days, but I guess
significant.
Still, yeah.
Pending, we're at 6 for the first week of first 9 days of January, and pending, we're at 2 for February. So things have slowed down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, so what we've got here is 2 stats, and what we normally do is this current week stats with the week prior stats. But what Jane has done here is this current week's stats, and then this is January 9th you've put there, but it's the week of the 9th before, so back to January 2nd probably.
Yeah.
She's nodding her head. So what we've done here is trying to compare the first week of, relatively speaking, the first week of February with the first week of January to see what the difference is. Okay. So what we're seeing here is way more new listings came on in the first week January versus the first week Feb. Few listings either way for pendings. Quite a few price decreases in January 9th versus February.
You know what?
What?
That's wrong.
What are we seeing?
I just looked at it. Okay, new listings is 205. I don't know how that happened. Pending is 98 for this past week. Sorry, everybody.
Okay.
Price decreases is 60, which is high. Price increases is 4 for the past week, and sold 110. I was thinking that seemed very low. It must have been.
Listen to what Jane says and not what she shows on the screen.
Sorry, everybody.
Okay,
I do this every Monday morning, so
it's an interesting new addition. We just need to work out the bug there, and maybe we'll include this in future shows.
Okay.
So a lot more new listings. Okay, so let's look at it. This one. This is the same thing.
This is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just go over it. So we had in January 26 net unconditional sales by January 9th. And in February, we've had 57. So we're up, doubled almost. And net unconditional sales in January of 2022 was 474. February 2022, we're at 718 already. Wow. Mm-hmm. That was last year. Sorry, 57. So we're going to be down overall. We're down. New listings for January, the first week was 190, and new listings for February is 161. This is compared to 932 last year.
932 for the full month of February. Yeah. Okay. Active listings are very similar, aren't they? Well, sorry. Active listings, we've gone up just a little bit, and active listings from January 2023 to February 2023, we're up by over 100 listings. We're now at 1,747 active listings. Whereas in February of 2022, a year ago, we only had 849. We were still like very, very small. Yeah. And keep in mind, we have like over 1,400 realtors in the Greater Victoria area. That is, about one listing for every 2 realtors. to list or to sell. It's not a lot of activity there, not a lot of inventory. So it's actually good to see more inventory, and we've said this over and over again.
Yeah, and last year the market peaked in March in terms of price, February, March. So we can see now why, because the list to sale ratio was 718 to 849, and now we're at 57 to 1747 so far. So the list to sale ratio is quite low.
Now, before we go on, Jane, let's just talk about like, what are we seeing in the marketplace? Like, for example, I'm out showing properties, and suddenly, it used to be when I was showing properties, if I was showing 5, 4 were under contract. This time I showed, 5 or 6, and 2 were under contract. But still showing that things are moving forward, that things are selling. It's not like everything is available. And certainly I'm hearing about some cases of multiple offers happening again. A lot of our social media folks a lot of folks that I'm networked with on social media are also talking about a big uptick in activity. And yet the stats aren't really showing that yet.
So what I'm finding is if realtors are pricing homes well, there are still multiple offers happening, but I'm finding that buyers are tending to want to wait, which is exactly when you want to buy, when everybody else is waiting. So if it was interesting, I was watching a video that another realtor put on in Toronto, and she showed a list price of where it was in December. And then she was like, yeah, if my client had offered in December, we could have gotten money off. Now we're in January. So this was a week ago. Now we're in January, and it went into multiple offers, and it sold like 10% over asking. So that was in Toronto. Yeah. And it's so true. Like, it really has to do with timing. If you can avoid the competition, you're going to save money.
When a seller is feeling like there's nobody out there looking at their place, and there's not a lot of interest in it, and they really need to sell, they have plans, they need to move on with their lives, when one offer comes in, they're going to deal with it in good faith and take it very seriously. When they know they've got a product that a lot of people are looking at and looking for, and their market activity ticks up and they're getting a lot of showings, they're going to know they've got a product that a lot of people want, and they are not going to be negotiable anymore.
Right.
And this does turn on a dime.
That being said, on the weekend, I was going to be showing a property in Souk, and ended up, so we had booked the showing for Saturday at 5 p.m. or 4:30, and on Thursday, and by Friday they had 2 offers because it was well priced.
Right.
I don't know what the sale price was yet.
Right.
And it was a conditional offer.
Yes. Okay. And that's commonplace now, but it's we're saying it like it's not, but it is commonplace now to have conditional offers, where just last year it was the exception, which is really sad, because really people need to have their conditions, and a lot of people probably bought homes that are finding problems with them that they weren't anticipating. Okay, so what do we got here, Jane? We've got the total active listings showing over time from January 2021 to January 2023. I just answered my own question.
So we went from just under 1,400 in January of 2021. We dipped, which is normal, in December, and then we have recovered quite well. We peaked in terms of listings in September, which is also normal, not normal, but usually we have 2 peaks during the year. So we're showing the number of listings is starting to increase. We had our regular decrease in numbers, total listings in December, and we're coming back up again. So we're at a total right now of just under 1,800 listings.
Where do you think we're going to go from here? I mean, I feel like this we're going to see another bounce up. A good curve. I mean, if you look at last year's curve from January 2021, February, sorry, can you go back one?
Yeah.
You can see that it's a very small rise in inventory, and that was really because people were buying as quickly as they were selling. But I feel like we're going to see a little more inventory rising up. So we probably end up with over, again, the stats, like numbers like we're seeing from August 2022 or beyond. this spring? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we're going to get up. I mean, when we started in real estate, I think the numbers were around 3,400. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get up there. It just is a question of how many people then start to sell. And I think we're going to start to see more subject to sale offers because people want to know where they're going and they want a bit of surety in that. And so I think, yeah.
I've dealt with a number of subject to sale offers recently.
As a listing agent or a buyer agent?
As a listing agent. Yeah. Yeah. Had to field
okay,
a couple
so total MLS listings to sale. We're seeing, so on the first half of this, we're seeing what kind of like a normal year would be. So we see a peak in the spring and a peak in the fall. Again, we see it a little more exaggerated last year, peak in the spring, then we tail down in the summer, come back in the fall. And we're starting out pretty high in terms of listings, new listings in January, up over 800. Normally, our list to sale ratio in December, we outsell the number of new listings we didn't in December, but I'm expecting to see a number of listings coming up. I was trying to get ahead of that curve with my listings, but I'm finding people aren't ready yet. So
aren't ready to sell or aren't ready to buy?
Aren't ready to sell.
Yeah. Yeah, that's often the case. I also suggest people get ahead of the curve. They don't want to be on market too long because we both know that properties can feel stale for buyers if they're up and not sold. That's why listing a home often, you've mentioned the value of listing a home in, let's say, December when not a lot is happening. But if you do list it in December and then it doesn't sell because the buyers don't come, then it may look, compared to other properties that are listing in February, if it's still on market in February, as stale. It's been on market for that much longer. So I find that people don't want to have their home on market for too long. They want to list it when there's going to be a good chance of it selling. But as I tell people, if you can't catch a fish, if your hook's not in the water, and if you're wanting to catch a fish, you've got to put your hook in the water. And if there's fish there's a chance of them biting.
Right. So I'm looking here at the sales curve and I'm seeing a downward slope. So that's very interesting to me. So we'll see how many people want to actually put their hook in the water and actually list their property this year, because I'm seeing the list to sale ratio is quite low.
When you're looking at what your assessed value is for last year, and if you bought in the last year or a couple of years, you're probably selling for less than you purchased. And so that can make it hard for some people to want to sell unless they have to sell. And I think there's a hope that prices will come back up. There's been, with the high interest rates and the low number of transactions and low inventory. And the low inventory is a good thing for sellers, but that's coupled with the low sales and high interest rates. And the lower prices. So if you don't have to sell, people may be wanting to wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
The one thing I do tell people, though, I was just chatting with someone who was concerned about the property value going down, but they were talking about buying in a different market. And if your home was worth $1 million last year and it's worth $800,000 today, I'm exaggerating this, and you want to go buy a house in another market, and let's say that market has homes that were worth $1.2 million and they've now gone down to $900,000. You're actually better off.
Right, because you can go up and you're going to bounce back higher.
The gap between the two properties' values has gotten smaller, and so you're actually in a better financial position to sell and buy. And that's an important thing to watch.
The other thing is, if you bought 2 years ago, you are still above where the market was. And so it's a good time actually to move up in the market. That's what you're saying too. Yeah. So the only people who are really going to be caught right now are going to be people who bought last year. Everybody else right now, we're okay. We haven't gone back to 2020 numbers. We're at 2021 numbers. Okay. So this actually mirrors what we were looking at, the list to sale ratio. So we are quite steady over the 2021 period till March 2022. You see, we peaked February 2022. We are still in a balanced market though. So it's characterized by a 20% list to sale ratio. So that is what the board considers to be a balanced market. So if we're looking at an absorption rate of 5 months. So
yeah, so properties are selling. They're not selling as quickly as they did before, but that was because it was a seller's market before, and we have inverted that, but really inverted it to go not quite to buyer's market. It's definitely still in the balanced domain. And if it was a true buyer's market, we would see inventory of 8-10 months. You list your home and it will just sit and sit and sit, and there's no expectation of a buyer coming to the table for any reasonable time. And it's not just about price at that point. It's just about the fact that there's not a lot of buyers or buyer desire.
Right. Okay, so we're going to go through the individual segments. We have single family homes here that we were talking about. We're at 2021 prices, and this is mirroring exactly what I just said. So we're at an average of 1.2, and you can see we've been fairly consistent since July of last year.
Yeah.
You want to do this one?
Sure. So condos are actually doing better than houses on the whole. January 2021, the average price was around 500,000, although it bumped up really quickly to about 550,000 and stood there for a while. Then the ramp up in late 2021 through 2022, the peak in January, February, March, and then a slow downgrade, and it looks like maybe the average now is around 600. So definitely higher than 2021, but still lower than the peak.
Yeah, and we do want to be comparing to 2 years ago because last year was an exception.
Yep.
So row townhomes, I'm not sure of the quantity of townhomes that sold, but we always talk about the fact that they vary very differently in terms of value. And
it's
we're back
to get
down
a rounded curve. Yeah, definitely harder to get a rounded curve with the row townhouse numbers because there's just fewer sales.
Yeah, so we're looking at the same average as we were 2 years ago at 650 after we peaked around 950 in spring of last year. Okay, so the BC real estate forecast, they're saying a slowing economy still elevated mortgage rates are expected to keep the housing activity lower than normal for much of 2023. I've heard that the interest rate hike that we had was the last one that we are expecting for this year. Who knows if that's true? They expect a strong recovery boosted by an expected decline in mortgage rates and a record high immigration that will carry significant momentum into 2024. So we're looking till the fourth quarter, I think, is when we'll start to see the rebound.
Right. So the higher interest rates will continue to, keep the buyer activity slower unless you're a cash buyer. And even so, you're going to be, it's a good time to be looking at value. But hopefully once we get kind of over and into used to the new normal of these higher interest rate environment and the shock of that is overcome. And then there's an expectation of maybe things getting better in the economy and the interest rates coming down a bit, then I think it will boost some buyer sentiment and bring them back to the table in 2024. But remains to be seen. You never know.
You never know. And as I always tell people now when I'm listing or selling something, that we want to wait till the day before, because as we all know, COVID changed everything in one day. So, okay. So the first time home savings account was announced, and
this is kind of like
$40,000. They have the ability to save $40,000 in a tax-free account. Oh my God. What was I thinking when I did this PowerPoint? Anyway, you can put a total of $8,000 a year away, and it's non-taxable as long as it's applied towards a first-time home purchase.
And that first-time home purchase is as long as you haven't owned a home in the last 4 years. So it's not the first home necessarily. If you've been renting for the last 5 years, let's say, this could apply to you even if you've owned a home in the past. So, and it's tax-free like an RRSP, and like the tax-free savings account. Sorry?
Yeah, I'm shaking my head at myself.
Oh, I see. Okay. Jean is now holding her hands and shaking her head.
I did this late at night a few nights ago. Okay.
Jean was,
yes.
Had a couple late nights.
So I've talked to a few financial advisors about this. I mean, they like it because now there's like another place to shelter money, but they think that it'll probably be parents who are putting this money in. What I'm finding is that often when people purchase homes, it's not a 5-year plan to purchase a home. It's more like an immediate thing. So I mean, I could sort of see parents putting money away for 5 years. I don't know how many people can afford $40,000. It's definitely a good shelter if you have the ability to do it, but I just see more people still going back to a gift letter.
A gift letter from parents, right?
Yeah.
But so, I mean, I was reading through this, just was announced last year in the 2022 budget, I guess, and it's still new and we don't really know exactly how it's all gonna, I mean, we'll know how it's gonna apply, but I think you do have to talk to your financial advisor as to what's in your best interest. There you go, Jean, that looks better. So as you said, $40,000 tax deductible contribution over life, $8,000 limit per year. As long as you haven't owned a home, I think for the last 4 years, I think it was.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, maybe it's a good idea, even if you own a home, to start putting money aside into this. It's the same effect as an RSP in terms of tax savings. At some point, you pull it out if you haven't, or you have to transfer it into your RSP, I think, if you haven't used it over 15 years. But it's probably good to have there in case if someday you sell your home and go traveling and want to come back to the home 5 years later.
Yeah, you can just dump it in, but you can only dump in 8,000 at a time.
It does sound like too, though it can add up over time. So you can take if you haven't used your full credit the 1 year, you can apply it to the next year. So that's again something to be confirmed. But you could, in theory, just dump after 4 or 5 years, the full amount in after 5 years, if that is the case.
It said plus accumulated room from the prior year, so I don't know if it's prior year or years. Again, when I was talking to financial advisors, they're like, we don't have all the details on it yet. This kind of reminds me of the recent rule changes at the beginning of the year where all of a sudden, oh yeah, here are the details.
Right, here's a shiny object. Here's it is in general. We'll figure out the problem. Once we start seeing problems, we'll figure out what the rules are.
Yeah.
That's probably it seems like that's the attitude, but it is something to be aware of, something to talk to your financial advisor about. Another arrow for the quiver, something to to do. And if you're a young person looking to save up for a home, look into it. If you're on an existing home, maybe there's some use to using it as well. I know I've spent some years owning home and some years not, as a renter, and going back to owning a home again. You can reuse your both of those systems. The first-time home buyers, the $15,000 you can save as well.
I did that when I bought my first home.
There was also I was reading up on this, and I read there was some discrepancy about whether or not you could apply both of them together, or it was one or the other. So it's really important to know whether or not these are something that can be combined or not. And originally it said they couldn't, and then somebody else was saying they could. So, I mean, again, talk to your financial advisor, do your research.
Yeah. So this also has a spelling error combined, but this financial advisor, the research that they provided me said it could. So we'll see. Who knows? Again, but it's something, if you have if somebody's coming up maybe into their 20s or 30s and they haven't yet done it, and you're a parent, you want a tax shelter, this is something that you should talk to your financial advisor about. Okay, so what's your prediction for this coming year?
I think we gave it, but I think, I mean, I'm hoping we'll get, I know that we have high interest rates. I know that we have,
We don't have higher interest rates. We have higher.
It's all relative, I think. I mean, high interest. So back when a home was $200,000 at 10%, that's a lot different when a home's $1 million at 4 or 5%. It's a lot more interest you're paying per year. Even so, anyway, I think that we're going to find that we'll continue to have business happening. I think people continue to buy and sell. It feels like there's been a bit of an uptick. Spring is always a time where people buy and sell. Once we hit the summer market, I don't anticipate it being as busy. And we'll probably get into a bit of a wait and see period through the fall, winter. That's my prediction. And then we'll see what interest rates happens to interest rates in 2024.
I think my prediction is as long as they keep the interest rates the same, there'll be a growing confidence in buyers. Probably a lot of people, I talked to Jen Lowe, who's a mortgage broker, and she said that they're offering fixed term rates of 4.99. So their expectation is when they do that, I'm thinking they're expecting the interest rates to come down. So that's 3 years if you want to buy fixed rate. And I would be interested to know what the terms and conditions around that are. But I think that as long as they keep the interest rates the same, people will grow in confidence. And I think we'll have a little bit of pent up demand. And I'm thinking that we'll start to see people, if you're smart, I think you would start buying now before everybody else starts buying. But that's just me. I'm like, okay, what's no one else doing? Let's do that.
Right. Usually when others are zagging. And, anyway, side story, but I had a favorite book as a kid about a little fish called Artie the Smarty. And he would, when all the fish were going one way, he would go the other. And it was a really fun little story. Anyway.
Yeah.
So I'm the same way because it was formative for me.
If people are zigging, let's zag. So, yeah. And so anyway, I think also.
Sorry, to your point though, Jane, about earlier, it's if people are in a position to buy, they should buy, because over time property values go up and there's not always an opportunity to buy. And that's the thing I found over time is government legislations change, lending practices change, the financial environment and the just everything is always in a flux. So if you are in a position of being able to buy and lock in a home and uncomfortably keep it, even, I mean, you don't want to be completely on the edge of possibility, but if you can, it's never comfortable buying your first home. There's always a risk. You're always going to be paying more than rent at the beginning. But if you can get in and hold it, you're going to be way better off even today, even if property values go down by another, let's say 10%, you're going to be better today to have bought it and held it. Because if property values go down by 10%, but you're not able to get a mortgage at that time, you're going to be in a better position long term. It doesn't make sense to some people, but it is true.
Right. And I think also, if you're looking exactly what you were saying earlier, if you're looking at increasing your loan value over time, and you're wanting to move across markets even and change homes, it's a good time now because you might be moving into a better home that will bounce back even higher. And when it's funny, like a lot of people are like, we're not going to sell because we're not going to get maximum value for our house. Well, you're not paying maximum value on the other side.
Yeah.
So it's all relative. And
now's a great time to switch up or to move to a more comfortable home. It's not always about switching up because you might be downsizing, empty nesters, outgrown your home. Your home might be at a point where it needs more upkeep than you want to put into it, and you're looking to go into a condo. It's a great time because you actually can make an offer subject to the sale of your home, and there's a high likelihood it will be accepted to make those moves. So it's actually a great time to do those lateral or sideways moves from one home to another.
Right now is a great time for people who overthink because they need time. Like I really feel that people who were overthinking over the past few years were really at a disadvantage, and that's why they brought in the 3-day recession period.
As two people who do overthink, Jane and I, I'm speaking for you, Jane, but I would say it's true. It is a hard market for people, and I've observed so many people who were successful because they just trusted the process, jumped in with both feet. Maybe took them a bit to get there, but they didn't overanalyze. They just went for it, and they found themselves in a home. And for the most part, I think on the overall and balance of it, most people did pretty well. At the very end of the process, not so much, but there is that paralysis by analysis, and it was really, really affecting people. Now you have the time to do that, to do the thinking, to get out the spreadsheets, to look at all the different numbers. It doesn't mean that you can do that forever. You still have to eventually,
Yeah. I have buyers right now who are looking for a very specific, if anybody's listing one, they want a top floor condo, they want a corner unit. There's 2 available in their price range, and they're hesitating. And I'm like, please don't sell, please don't sell. And it's so funny because the longer it stays on the market, the more they feel comfortable with waiting. Yeah. And it's just going to sell, because what happens is when the market turns, it really flips. And if you imagine like dominoes, it goes, and all of a sudden, all those listings are gone. And they're going to be like, but I was still thinking about it. So I guess, and what I say to people is, when you write an offer, you are given 7 to 10 days to think about it. I mean, you have to write in good faith and do your due diligence, but you are given 7 to 10 days to do it. So what that does is it stops anybody else from writing an offer at that point, unless they write a backup. And then you have you have room to take a breath and actually really think about it.
Yeah, exactly. That's a key element of the buyer consultation that I generally have with clients, and something that I repeat to clients. And it's in my, I send out emails of success kind of program stuff to my buyers. And one of the key elements is, keep in mind, when you make an offer and the seller accepts it, they are bound to you. They can't take another offer. So if you see a property and you like the property, don't be afraid to take that jump in, because you can include, and reasonably include, conditions like subject to financing, subject to inspection, subject to reviewing the strata documents. All these reasonable requests give you the time to think about it. And yes, you do make it in good faith, but I think more people hesitate than should. And they don't really understand the fact that, by locking it up, the seller now is not able to take that other offer that comes in the day after, while you're just thinking about it.
Okay, speaking of which, do you have any listings coming up?
Yeah, I've got a 3-bed, 1-bath home in Esquimalt coming up. Going to be up on Thursday. Price is $759, so very, very good price. It's on, I think, I was going to say 6,000 or 7,000 square foot lot. Okay. And we're doing photos, floor plans today. I'm going to go and get all the details. But it should be up on Thursday.
I have a 1-bed, 1-bath condo coming up on Yates Street, and that's going to be $525. And then I have a beautiful, oh my God, it's so stunning, home coming up. It's on an acre in North Saanich, and has 180-degree views from Salt Spring Island all the way over to Finlayson Arm. And it's $2,625,000. And it's just like, it's stunning. Everything is done in that house, from metal roof, 2 hot water tanks, 2 furnaces, hookup for hot tub and sauna. The owners have just taken meticulous care of this place. It's just stunning. So
it sounds beautiful.
It's I was like, I love this home. Can I move in this home? Wow. And what else do I have coming up? That's it for now. I do have some buyers looking for condos right now. So if you know of anything coming up, please give me a call. Let me know.
Absolutely.
Okay, so don't forget our show is on every Monday morning at 10 a.m. And if you have questions or you want us to cover something, shoot us a message. Andrew, how do people get in touch with you?
Give me a call. I'm at 250-360-6106. Text me. Email info@andrewplank.com. Check out my Instagram at plankandrew. And the website, andrewplank.com, has these shows, more information about buying and selling, and other bits and pieces about real estate. So check it out.
And he has an awesome blog.
Thank you.
Okay, you can reach me. My name's Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at briarhillgroup.com. My number is 250-744-0775. You can reach me at briarhillgroup@gmail.com. We have actually put the shows on victoriarealestateshow.com now, and Instagram's at realty_remax_Victoria, and Victoria Island Luxury Living. Vancouver Island Luxury Living. Oh my God, today is one of those days. I think I'm going to go now. All right. Take care, everybody. Have a great week. And we'll see you next Monday morning at 10 a.m. Bye for now.
Bye, everybody.
You're welcome.